my name is Mia. I'm a knitter and crocheter based in Scotland, and I guess today is my first episode of like your traditional knitting podcast with a little bit of crochet at the end. So today I'm just going to talk about my recently finished object, my current works in progress, and then I'll give you an update on my temperature blanket. So yeah, I guess I'll start with my finished object, which is what I'm wearing. This is the Sunde Sweater by NovemberKnits. If you know the pattern, you know it's usually a striped jumper. Mine is not, because this was a stash busting project. So I initially bought this yarn to make a completely different jumper. I chose the pattern The Comfort Sweater by Darling J'adore because I'd made her essential sweater and I really loved it. As you can probably guess, even just from looking at this yarn, it's a really drapey, soft, comfy combination, and that sweater is a really kind of structured, like funnel neck, thick wool sweater, which is not what you use this kind of yarn for, but I chose that as a total beginner. I did not realise that at the time. I made the whole jumper, blocked it, tried it on, and it looked nothing like the picture, as you can imagine, because it's not supposed to. By the time I finished it, I had kind of learned a little bit more. I knew where I had gone wrong, so I frogged the whole thing. I chose the Sunde Sweater, which I think is a much more appropriate pattern for this yarn, and I am so pleased with how this has come out. So this is just a really nice raglan sweater. It's got 3 stitches in the raglan here. I probably feel like the neckline goes out a little bit far for me, so I will put some elastic in here just to bring it closer to my neck. But pattern wise, that's literally my only issue. It's nice and long, which is great. The sleeves are nice and long, which I love. And they have just like a little bit of a balloon effect, which I think is really beautiful. I have no complaints at all with this pattern. It was really clearly written, super easy to follow, and I love how this jumper has come out. I will show you the yarns that I used because, as you can imagine, without the stripes and with the random choices, they are not what's recommended, but I actually really enjoyed working with this combination. So it probably comes as no surprise that for my first knit garment I chose to go with Drops Kid-Silk Mohair. I feel like mohair is really trendy at the minute, and this is kind of the go-to beginner mohair yarn. So this is in the colour Blue Wind, which you can see has these kind of marled white bits through it, which is why I decided to hold it with a white yarn. So this is a 4-ply fingering weight yarn from an Etsy seller called Sheep on Mars. She's a UK based seller. I know she's still on Etsy. I don't know if you can still get this specific yarn. I bought this ages ago, as you can imagine, because I've knit a sweater with it twice. But it's a really lovely yarn. It's 80% merino, 20% silk, so it's super soft and drapey and lovely. Like I said, I think it all knit up beautifully. It's super cozy to wear. Even with the mohair, it's totally fine next to skin. The only problem I have with this combination is with the Kid-Silk Mohair. So I don't know how easy it is for you to see. You kind of got a bit of it there. Like, some of this halo is just ridiculous. It is so long. I know that it's soft and fluffy and that's kind of the vibe, but to me it's just a little bit excessive. I'm slightly concerned I'm going to be finding hairs everywhere from this mohair. So I don't know that I would use it again. It is really budget friendly, so if you want to knit with mohair, it's totally an option. But I have since discovered the joys of Surrey alpaca lace and I will never go back. Like, it's just so much nicer. To me, it's worth the money. I would rather knit fewer garments with that nicer fibre than more garments with this. I think I'll get more wear out of them. It just seems like a better investment to me. So I'm a big fan of the Surrey alpaca silk. That's probably what I'll go for in future. But if you're going budget friendly, this is totally an option. So that is the Sunde Sweater. That is my first finished object of 2024, which brings me on to my first work in progress, which is the Field Day Cardigan by Ozetta. So I'm at a really awkward point for showing you this project, but hopefully you'll get the gist. I don't know if you can see, I have just finished the front right, like shaped the v-neck kind of bit. So that's what that is. There's the collar along the back, and then I've just started the front left. So it kind of looks a bit of a mess. She's a bit rough and ready, but I can totally see that it's going to come together to be a lovely cardigan. I am using Plymouth yarn Sea Isle in the colour Sand Dollar, and I am absolutely loving this. It is 50% organic Pima cotton and 50% wool. It's a Peruvian wool, and I just think the colour is lovely. It is really soft, it's really nice to work with. The one thing I've noticed is it does kind of cling to my clothes when there's like a little bit of it hanging off of my project, so it doesn't glide super easily, if that makes any sense, but it's not really much of an issue for me. It's a chainette construction, and it's 50% wool, 50% plant matter, which is why I picked it, because that's kind of what's used in the original, and I'm really loving working with it so far. I think that the stitch definition is beautiful. I'm loving the construction of this cardigan. I've never made one before, so it is a bit of a new one to me. It's been a bit of a challenge, but kind of in a great way. Like, I'm loving learning as I go. The instructions are pretty clear for the most part. There's only been one point that kind of confused me for a while, but I did figure it out after maybe half an hour of just watching videos and doing my best. You can actually kind of see there's a bit of a twist here where my finger is. It's not as obvious as I'd have thought on camera. It bothers me a little bit, but not to the point where I'm gonna go back and try and fix it, because that was ages ago and I could only figure it out when I went to start from the other side. So we're going with it. No one's looking at the back of my neck. But yeah, so far apart from that, I've had no trouble with this cardigan. It's been really entertaining to knit. Like, there's something different to do every like 16 rows or something, so it's really engaging, and I'm loving this cardigan so far. Okay, so like I said, that was the Field Day cardigan by Ozetta. That's the only garment that I'm currently working on. My next work in progress is an accessory. This is kind of a shameful one for me, because I started this sock, I don't know, summer last year, and I finished it pretty quickly. And then I realised that it was not the size of the person I was trying to gift it to, and it went on the back burner for ages, even though I knew it's exactly my size. Like, I could finish these socks and they would fit me perfectly. It went on the back burner for ages, and I am maybe halfway through the leg of the second sock at this point. So I'm determined to get these done soon. Putting this in this video will hopefully keep me accountable and make me more likely to finish them. This is the vanilla sock pattern by the Crazy Sock Lady. I'm using DPNs. I can't deal with the magic loop. I find my tension when I'm swapping is awful. With DPNs it's better. So I'm sticking with this for now. I have tried magic loop, it's just not, I haven't figured it out. We're not friends yet. But anyway, for yarn I am using West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply. This is the colour Wood Pigeon. They're all named after birds. It's very sweet. I've used the colour Mallard before as well, which was lovely. I made a pair of socks for my fiance using that, and they came out great. So yeah, I only have one pair of knit socks. I'm desperate for more. I really need to get this finished. And I do really like how they're working up. I really like this pattern. It's my second or third time, I think third time using it, and I think it looks great. I have used other heel constructions before, but the heel flap just looks way neater for me, and it's definitely sturdier. So I'm hoping I'll get these finished soon, so I can start something with a bit of lace or a bit more exciting. So fingers crossed that these will be nearer done the next time I film. Just for reference, in case it's helpful, I think in all of those patterns I'm using the second size up. So this was the second size, I'm pretty sure it's a small. My cardigan was the same, and I'm using the middle size for the socks. I think I should be the smallest size, but just with my gauge it's fitting me in the medium size, and I'm fine with it. So size small for reference if that's any use. But last thing has no sizing because it has no pattern, it's just my granny square blanket. So as you can see, I have seamed them all now. I've got 3 squares done. The first 2 we had the same kind of temperatures. Last week, this would tell you it was a bit warmer. We had 2 storms come through, so I didn't feel it. But I think just the wind chill is what made it feel that way rather than the actual temperature. So you can see, I think we got a high of about 12 or 13 degrees Celsius. So I got to use probably one of my favourite colours out of the lot, the dark olive heather, and I love how it looks. Coldest temperatures are still well below 0. There's a bit of me that kind of wonders if I should have got a colour for below -5 because it's been that cold. But I don't mind having more of the sage green. I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, I love how this is coming out so far. I have a lot of faith in this becoming a really nice blanket. So I have blocked all of my squares and sewn in the ends of the squares themselves. The ends you can see poking out here are just from seaming them together. I have used the slip stitch seaming method, so that's why I've gone into the back loop, and that's why you can see these kind of ridges. I think it looks quite neat. When it's stretched you get a little bit of give between them, but I don't mind that. And you can kind of see the slip stitches from the back, which honestly I think looks fine as well when it's not overexposed. So yeah, I just need to sew in these little ends. But honestly I think I might just leave them so that when I'm then seaming something here, I can just tuck them in there and crochet them into place, but maybe that won't work with a slip stitch. I'm not sure. I'll leave it for now anyway and see what happens. But yeah, I am now 3 weeks into January. In a couple days we'll be 4 weeks in already, which is kind of crazy. First month of 2024 is gone. So yeah, I'm excited to see how the first 5 weeks come together, because that will be my first row, because I'm doing 7, but I'm leaving the corners for the highest and lowest temperatures of the whole year. I hope that makes sense. So I'll have my first row essentially done by the next time I film, which is quite exciting. So we'll see what the temperature is like. We're hoping for a bit more of these warmer tones because it really has been very cold for a very long time. But then February tends to be cold here as well, so I shouldn't get my hopes up. So that is what I have to share from the last 2 weeks. I know it's not loads compared to what a lot of other makers get done, but that's what I get done in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'm slow, or maybe that feels a bit more realistic for you. This is kind of the time of year you see a lot of what I made in 2023 videos, and I think some people are just machines. The amount of work they get done is so impressive to me. So maybe mine is a bit more like what your stash looks like. Hopefully it makes you feel a bit better. I know I put a lot of pressure on myself to keep up with what other makers do, and it's just not realistic for me. So maybe you feel a bit better seeing that I'm working on a couple things at a time, and nowhere near writing my own patterns at this point. I just think it's nice to keep track of where I am in my journey and all that kind of thing. So thank you for watching again. Hopefully I'll see you again in a couple of weeks with a few more granny squares and a few more rows on my cardigan and my socks, and I will speak to you again soon.